When you are debugging, you need to see the information stored in variables and other objects in your code. Data tips and data visualizers are provided by Visual Studio to show you this information. In this video, I'll look at the data visualizer, also known as the debug visualizer, which provides debug time formatting of large text files, HTML, XML, or JSON data. I'll start by opening this C# file and then debugging my application. Now I'll press F11 to step through my code till I get near the bottom of this method. What I've done is filled 6 strings with information. Now if you looked at the other video about data tips, you know that I can hover over the word sentence here and see the contents of this string. Now this works really well for a short string, but imagine I had 600 words inside this sentence. Now when I hover over it with the data tip, it wouldn't all fit in the data tip. Also, when I'm working with things like this HTML file, I have these HTML tags inside my string. It would be nice to be able to look at this string and see this not just as a string, but also see what it would look like in a browser. That's the purpose of the data visualizer. Data visualizers are embedded inside data tips. On line 40, I've loaded some XML content into a string variable. On line 41, I've added a large text file into the string variable. On line 42, I've done the same thing with an HTML file. And on line 43, I filled a string with JSON content. So let's look at these visualizers. When I hover over the XML string, you'll see that the end of the string is cut off. You'll see the 3 dots at the right edge of the screen. That means the text won't fit in this data tip. But you also notice on the left side of the data tip is a magnifying glass. And this is how you get to the visualizers. There's 4 of them. I know that this string variable contains XML data, so I'll use the XML visualizer. And what you see is a dialog that pops up and shows that XML in a way that makes sense. It's got collapsible sections. It's color-coded the nodes in the XML file. I can see the data inside the XML node here in bold text. That's nice. This next example shows a large text file. Click on the magnifying glass and choose the text visualizer. So this is very similar to taking this string and copying it and pasting it into Notepad, except that I don't have to go through all those extra steps. You don't have to use the data tip to get to the visualizer. If you're familiar with the way the locals window works, you can come down here and click on this variable. And if you look on the right edge of this variable, you'll see there's a magnifying glass. So this is just another way of getting to that visualizer. Now you see what this string would look like if it was loaded in a browser. And finally, let's look at the JSON visualizer. JSON, and you're probably familiar with that too, but if you're not, it's another serialization format that's a lot less verbose than XML.